Fight with truth and patience. We did exactly that. We released a detailed report, opened our books to public audit, and within months the truth came out. The blog that started it eventually issued a retraction. But by then I had learned something powerful. Fame can build you, but it can also expose your wounds. After that season, I became quieter, more intentional. I stopped chasing visibility and focused on impact. Annabelle was in secondary school by then, growing fast. She had her father's eyes, but my stubbornness. One evening, she showed me an essay she wrote titled, "My Mother, the Phoenix." She wrote, "My mom is like fire. She burns, she shines, and even when life tries to turn her to ashes, she rises again brighter." I couldn't hold back my tears. That was the moment I realized, success isn't the awards or the fame. It's raising a child who sees your scars as stars. Tom and I eventually got married in a quiet ceremony in Abuja, just close friends and family. It wasn't extravagant, but it was perfect. As we exchanged vows, I looked at him and whispered, "Thank you for teaching me that love doesn't have to hurt to be real." He smiled and said, "Thank you for letting me love you at your pace." We danced that night under fairy lights, laughter mixing with soft music. For the first time in a long time, I felt whole. Over the next few years, our foundation grew internationally. We partnered with organizations in Ghana, Kenya, and South Africa. I was invited to speak at the United Nations Women's Conference in Nairobi. Standing there, representing Nigerian women, I remembered that little girl from Ibadan who used to watch the rain and whisper dreams into the wind. Now the world was listening. When I think about my life now, I often sit in silence before speaking. Not because I don't have words, but because I have too many. Too many memories, too many lessons, too many storms that taught me how to dance in the rain. Sometimes I go back to that same Ibadan house, the one with the cracked veranda and rusted roof. The building is old now, almost collapsing, but I still go there. I sit where I once watched the rain as a child and whisper, "We made it, Papa. We really made it." Because we did. Today I'm called Madam Mabel by many, the CEO, the philanthropist, the motivational speaker. But when I strip away the titles, I am still that girl who once prayed over empty plates, who once cried on her mother's lap, who once feared that love would never be kind to her. It's strange how life works. The very things that once broke me have become the very tools I now use to build others. My days are different now. I wake up to the soft sound of morning birds in our quiet home in Abuja, sunlight streaming through the curtains. Tom is usually already in the kitchen making coffee. Annabelle, now 17, is preparing for university. She wants to study film. She says she wants to tell stories that heal hearts, just like mine healed hers. I smile every time she says that, because that's the greatest reward I could ever ask for. My foundation has expanded beyond anything I imagined. We now run skill hubs across Nigeria, Lagos, Kano, Enugu, Jos, and even a small center in Makurdi. We've trained over 5,000 young women. Some have gone on to start their own businesses, others are teaching in schools or working in tech companies. Each one is a living testimony that broken beginnings don't mean broken destinies. Sometimes, after workshops, girls come up to me crying, saying, "Auntie Mabel, your story saved me." I always tell them, "No, my dear, you saved yourself. I just reminded you that you could." But even in triumph, I stay grounded. Success can be a sweet poison if you're not careful. Lagos fame can turn humility into performance. So, I make it a habit to still take Danfo rides sometimes, to walk through markets, to buy roasted corn by the roadside. It reminds me where I came from. Tom laughs whenever I do that. "Madam Mabel, global speaker, eating corn by the gutter?" he teases. And I reply, "That's where I found my strength, my love. That's where my soul breathes." There are moments when life still tests me. There are days I wake up tired for no reason, or nights when memories of my mother come like soft waves, and I find myself crying quietly. But I've learned that tears don't mean weakness, they mean you've lived. One night, not too long ago, I had a dream. I saw my mother standing in a field of sunflowers, smiling. She didn't say anything. She just nodded as if to say, "You did well." When I woke up, I cried, but it was the kind of crying that feels like rain after drought. Cleansing. Freeing. A few months ago, I was invited to give a keynote speech at a global summit in New York City. It was my first time in America. I remember standing backstage, wearing a sleek black gown, the city lights twinkling through the window. I looked at myself in the mirror and whispered, "From Mushin to Manhattan." When I stepped onto that stage, the applause was thunderous. But as I began to speak, the world fell away. I wasn't thinking about the cameras or the crowd. I was thinking about the journey. About the nights I studied by candlelight. About Annabel's first cry. About Mama's last words. About the heartbreaks, the hunger, the hope. I said, people often ask me what success feels like. To me, success isn't standing here in front of you. It's waking up every morning knowing I didn't let life turn me bitter. Success is forgiving those who broke you. Success is raising a child who chooses kindness in a cruel world. Success is peace, the kind that doesn't need applause. When I finished, they gave me a standing ovation. But the real applause I felt came from within, from the little girl who had once watched the rain, finally standing in her own sunlight. After that trip, I returned home to Nigeria with a quiet kind of joy. Not the loud celebration kind, but the steady heartbeat of contentment. One Sunday afternoon, we hosted a small gathering at home, friends, staff from the foundation, and some of the girls we'd mentored. As we ate jollof rice and laughed, one of them, a shy girl named Halima, stood up and said, "Auntie Mabel, when I wanted to give up, I watched your story online. You said, 'Don't let shame kill your fire.' That night, I decided to live." Her words hit me deeply. I felt tears pricking my eyes again. It reminded me of Auntie Dora, the woman who once said those same words to me in that tiny eatery in Surulere years ago. The circle had come full. That night, after everyone left, I sat on the balcony with Tom. The city lights blinked below us. I looked into his eyes and said, I used to think survival was the end goal. But now I see it's just the beginning." He nodded. "You turned survival into art, Mabel." I smiled. "No," I said. "God did. I just agreed to the process." We sat there in silence for a while, listening to the hum of the city. And for the first time, I realized I wasn't afraid anymore. Not of loss, not of love, not of life. I had made peace with my story. Now, when people ask me what drives me, I tell them this. I was once a girl who watched the rain and thought it would never stop. But I kept walking until I found the sun. Because that's what life is: rain, sun, storm, light, all of it necessary to make us grow. I've learned that pain is not our enemy, it's our teacher. That heartbreak can sometimes be the hand that pushes us toward purpose. That no matter where you start, you can rewrite your ending. So yes, my name is Mabel, the woman who refused to break. And if you're hearing my voice today, wherever you are, I want you to remember this. You are not your scars. You are not your mistakes. You are not your losses. You are every single sunrise you've survived. And one day, when you stand on your own mountain, you'll look back and smile. Not because the journey was easy, but because you didn't stop walking. So keep walking. Keep rising. Keep believing. Because if Mabel, the girl from Abadan who watched the rain, could find her sunlight, then so can you.